Piper and Monique. We are live. I'm going to hit the go live button over on Instagram as well. Bingo. We are live on Instagram. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and joining us. We had a few technical difficulties, although we were here on time. So we're getting a few things together. Thank you for joining Coaching Conversations. We've got Monique and Piper with us today of Velasquez Media. Woo!
Yes, we have a long name, but Velasquez Media is what we've shortened it to lately. So we're
Oh
happy
man,
with that.
well, give us the T. What's the long name?
Oh, Velasquez Digital Media Communications.
Yeah,
LLC.
Well, the LLC, yes. So LLC.
that's
Hey,
understood.
Selina, thank you so much for having us. We're very excited. It's gonna be
Thank
fun.
you. I was like, how can I have Monique on and not have Piper? You got to have Piper. So I'm so grateful that you said yes, Piper. This is
I
so
know.
cool. So, coaching conversations is my way of utilizing my strengths and giving back and sharing with other coaches, the conversation, like what it is you do, why did you get into this, and all of those things, so that other people out there that are not used to investing in coaching can understand what services are available, take away a couple of nuggets that might be able to help them. Hopefully that they hear our voices and they know that we are the coach for them and all of that good stuff. um, I'm Selena, as you all know, aka the Disruptor Coach, and I specialize in empowering Christian women that have cut ties after narcissistic relationships and they're struggling with who they are. So I help them know their power and divine identity so that they can have enough energy, strength, and capacity to live a purposeful life on their own terms. That's what I specialize in. I've lived it, I've breathed it. I know what it takes to get you back to your true self, who you were destined to be. And then Piper and Monique, tell us a little bit about digital media and Velasquez media and how you ladies show up in the world.
Well, Velasquez Media is something that I wanted to do when I was younger. I kind of knew I was going to be in business. I had started this first incarnation doing sort of these artistic things, and Piper was a musician around this time, and we would do some fun like music videos and sort of these things that young people do.
I love it.
um, and then after working for a little bit, I figured out that some of my strengths of being able to do this video work and understanding that being a gatekeeper to media means that you get to set the agenda and have the ideas out there, right? So you get to talk
Mm,
about things. And one of the things that I saw happening was I worked for state government, and the Hispanic population in North Carolina, we're based here in North Carolina, had grown quite a bit, a tremendous amount in the 90s, from 90 to about 2000. It was a 400% increase. And so there was a
wow.
huge influx of immigrants that
Mhm.
spoke Spanish. And I saw a lot of decision making about not having resources delivered in Spanish. And that was hard to be part of a community that was being dismissed and not seeing valuable enough to spend public dollars on. And that was huge for me to decide I needed to go and do this on my own. I was called to, go out there and be the person that does this, because they were saying no, and I just needed to find the people that were saying yes to it and be their conduit, be their media person, putting out videos, putting it on TV, radio at the time, because internet was not a big video place.
Yeah.
So that's how we were showing up. And Piper and I were together, and she was working for other folks, different corporations. She was at Duke Press. Duke is here in Durham, North Carolina, and Whole Foods. And she has this interesting career path with lots of different skills, but they were all skills that I didn't have. And so when starting this business, I was asking her, well, I do picture really well, you do sound, let's work together and make this happen. And that's how we started working together. Eventually, we got enough money coming in that she could leave the corporate world, and both of us are employed by this business, and we are able to, maintain a household and buy up on a house. So,
Yes.
yeah, so that happened, 20 years now.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing thing. So, you think you're going to be in a house for like just a couple of years and then turn it up to the next place. But we got so busy that we didn't even do that. So here we are. In a place that's hot, the market's hot, and oh my gosh, this house, I still think of it as like 200,000, but this market is so crazy. Piper was telling me that our house is on Zillow or one of those things. Zillow?
Yeah. So,
It's like double that, almost triple that, which is nuts. That's just crazy. I live in the same place, same neighborhood, but
I
whatever.
That sounds like California prices. My son lives out in LA, and I've got a friend that I was living in Las Vegas for about 8 years, and she bought her house for like dirt cheap, and then she sold it for triple the value, was able to pay off all her debt, buy a whole nother house in Las Vegas, all the things. Wow,
Nice.
that's
That's an
cool.
amazing thing, right? Like when you can bring what you bring to the market and then make money in enough that is abundance for you to do what you need to do. That is an amazing thing. Kudos to them.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Piper, how would you say you show up in the world these days?
How do I show up in the world these days? How do I show up in the world? I'm still introverted, evidently.
Ah,
Way introverted.
really?
So, yeah. So mostly I listen, which I have the excuse of listening on set because I'm running sound. But you do learn a lot about people, and they disclose a lot. And
She's really good at reading the nonverbals and the
oh,
vocal
yeah,
cues.
that's true. Because we'll be in a meeting or something, and I'll be like, wow, they were really upset. And Monique's like, they were, about not at us, thank goodness, but they may not have been heard in the meeting, and they make one little comment or something, but you see it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so the dynamic here is interesting.
And so I miss a lot of those cues. I tend to be, I guess, tuned into other things, but she is amazing as far as that intuition and listening to
I love
those.
that. I love that. That is a technique that we use in coaching, right? Those nonverbal cues and all of that. This tells me you all are probably a very good, even team in that your strengths and your weaknesses accommodate for one another. How's that served you with Piper identifying as an introvert and she does more listening? How what's that like for you all? What give me some tea. Like what is a big win that you got out of that? We like to talk about wins.
That's right. So my win on that is the fact that I feel like we have different strengths, of course, and that I don't I don't ask her to play in my sandbox, right? Because it's very uncomfortable for her.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't ask her to play in my sandbox very often, but when I do, I let her do it in her way. Like I am about going to these live events and mixing and talking to people and getting to know what they're doing. And Piper will go because she knows needs to go out there, but she is very select and doesn't move around the room as much as I do. Where I'm coming and I've got all the business cards and I'm talking to people, trying to figure out what it is that they need, how I can serve them by connecting them to this person or that person that does this.
Yeah.
And And what's amazing too is even though I'm like sort of in the front line right there, a lot of times later, like we just had somebody call and say, "Hey, do you know anybody who does this?" And I was like, I think maybe I do, but I need to think on it, and pipe out an answer like that. And
Yes,
she's like, "This person." I was like, "You're absolutely right. Those two folks need to get together and create some synergy and make this project happen um, right away." And it was a great connection. So that's the kind of strength that, I get to win because he's listening and she's cataloging all that. And, we both share in our capacity to make those connections for people. If
yes,
it's not us serving them, we can definitely find people out there that will serve in the right way.
And you're good at asking questions of people of things that I would never think to ask. I mean, not like inappropriate or anything like that, just things I would never think to ask. And they'll get to the root of things pretty quick. I
mm,
guess is you're quick to for that. And I'm always kind of surprised.
Well, when we're learning about coaching, we learn about these
Right.
things that people are thinking about, and they might not be able to articulate it in a way. And it's like we have this generic things that happen in our business. We have some self-doubt, we have some, let's do it ourselves grit when
right.
you really don't need to, right? And then we have the idea of self-care, like when do you need to stop, beating your head against the wall and just take a breather and really, really take time for yourself so you can get to the real answer that you're seeking.
Absolutely. That whole hustle and grinding mentality is over. This is so wonderful for me. So as I'm peeking in here, I love I love the fact that one Piper that you said yes when I asked if you would be interested in coming on, and that you're being visible in this way. I appreciate that very much. So thank you. And um, I'm curious what that feels like with you all being in front of the camera right now as opposed to being behind the camera and the sound.
Well, the tech is always a challenge when you're wanting it to look right, right? And wanting it to sound right.
Yeah.
And sometimes some of these, where we're on in front of the camera, we will have a technician because we hire people and we have people on staff that'll do this. This was not one of those days.
It's not one of those days.
That was so funny.
But we have the basic tools. We have some lights here that kind of make it bright enough that you should be able to see our faces. And we have this extra microphone up here that hopefully is nice and clear for people to listen. So, we're concerned about the tech, but we're also interested in telling our story about who we are, right? What we do. And live streaming is one of those things that, we I mean, I love the idea of like the StreamYard. Like this
Yes,
little tool is an amazing tool for live streaming.
Right.
I
Amazing.
am fascinated with it. We were just talking touched on it a little bit. When I found it, to me, it's like a way of working smart and not hard. Oh my gosh,
It,
I love it.
it looks great. It has a lot of things that you can add extra if you wanted to.
Mhm.
I used it at the beginning of the pandemic to do some things for conversations that were ticketed. And we made it look really great because, like, look at these graphics down here. This is amazing, right? You were able to do it like lickety split. And I mean, that's the secret. Sorry, folks, you just got the behind the scenes
One of
spoiler.
one of the cheat codes. Gotta love that. And I love that. I love that it is so easy. It's really kind of inexpensive. I don't mind the payment on it. Um, and now I don't know if you know this, they do the AI video clipping for you. So we'll see some of
Hmm.
that come out from this conversation. I love that. So it all happens inside of here, which is kind of cool. So in speaking about that and talking about StreamYard, what are some of the tools of the trade that are some of your favorites that you use when you talk about video production?
So, you know, some of the tools of the trade, like if you're going to do, you know, these extra Zoom, you're going to do some training. I think the biggest thing is having a good microphone.
Mm.
That is really key. And I know that, you know, sometimes we're in a hurry, and you know, the earbuds that I know that we just had a little tech issue
Yeah.
with, earbuds tend to be a fail point. So that's a tip there, that because what happens is sometimes it's not fully powered, like it's not charged, and the noise suppression on the microphone on the earbuds is different than the laptop and the software's capacity to do some muting.
Ah,
So the microphone is sort of better.
Right.
It's better, but it causes more problems for situations like Zoom or StreamYard or Teams or you know, Ecamm or any of those other things. So it's one of those things that it's really convenient to have earbuds, but ultimately just having the speaker on your computer or your laptop works
okay.
really, really well. And the software itself does a really good job of canceling any extraneous noise, where your earbuds, that microphone has got a whole different functionality. So pro tip, good microphone.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So for the small business owner, what constitutes a good microphone?
I'm going to leave it to the sound expert to
Yes.
talk about that.
For the do we have one
Not,
around
not,
here?
not,
The okay, so what constitutes a
Yeah.
good, so I know there are microphones currently, if you're going to be using Zoom and all, that are nice and work rather seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the functionality of being able to do different, what they're called pickup patterns. So if you had multiple people, you could do a pattern where you are picking up everyone's voice equally. And then other times when it's just you, you can do a pickup pattern. So it's just isolating on your voice. And those are kind of inexpensive. They're on the inexpensive.
It's an investment, but
Yeah.
it's not like a deal breaker. Like I know there are a couple of brands. Rode puts out something.
Right.
Stream Deck puts out a microphone,
Okay.
and Yeti. I think
Yeti is the
Yeti is
one
like
that
the
was-
most used, and they can be connected through USB. And a lot of these software-based video conferencing, Teams, Zoom, StreamYard, will recognize that USB microphone.
And I'm curious about the wireless. I bought a microphone, but I don't even know how to work the thing because I was gonna I was gonna be on vacation on the beach and everything. And my coach was like, you need something that's gonna pick up pick up your voice and cancel out like the beach noise. So get you a microphone. I got the thing, but I cannot work it for the life of me.
Yeah.
Does the wired connection work better, or is wireless? Can you find something wireless is just as good?
Wired is until recently is the preferred method because less chances of something interrupting and not being able to get the connection, or what they call dropping. There is Bluetooth is a big thing now, and that is for short distances.
Okay.
And it works fairly well. I don't use Bluetooth in for the talent when I'm recording. I might use it as for an extraneous, you would call confidence feed, just for listening on my side, but
It's a very
not
complicated idea.
Yeah, it's a complicated idea, but
So
Bluetooth works pretty well, and they're getting better.
Yeah, the wireless microphone that are consumer accessible are pretty good, and being able to set it up and connect it to your device, either your phone or your laptop, that sort of thing becomes a little
It
bit
can be
of
a challenge.
a little bit of tech, thing. And so that's why, having that wireless connection, things can interrupt it. When we
Right.
have devices in our pockets, we have headphones, we have remotes and that are around that are just sending signals here and there, and it can interrupt what you're thinking you're getting as far as sound.
But windscreens, if you're going to be on the beach, that would be the big. and sometimes you don't know. I mean, they have devices now where you could be recording to the camera,
Right.
and you could record straight to the device, and then I know people are starting to do that more, but you're not able to listen to that device while you're in front of the camera.
Right.
So you're just going to hope for the best sound.
Right.
Yeah.
I did that earlier. I went live in the car with the AirPods on so that I could tell them that we were going to be delayed and the time had changed. And I could hear all this noise from my car. I was like, I didn't even know my car made all this noise. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I think it was a combination of the AirPods and all of the things. So I get that. I'm curious because you mentioned Bluetooth and I said wireless. What is the difference between the wireless and the Bluetooth? Because maybe I meant Bluetooth instead of wireless.
So a lot of the stuff that's coming out right now is Bluetooth, and it will just say wireless. And Bluetooth works the same as your phone and your earbuds. And the other difference is, so there's frequencies that you can tune into,
like a radio or
like
TV.
a radio or a TV, and those are more isolating. So your chances of dropping are less, and you also go further distances. That also, they go up in price.
Right.
Yeah.
The Bluetooth is kind of open and very crowded. Right.
Okay.
And so even though it's wireless, there could be other devices trying to use the same wireless signal.
Got you.
That's on there. So that's just, a tech thing. And I'm sure that the scientists, technicians are hard at work trying to figure out how to get those.
Yeah,
things
they're
isolated.
getting better. There are even devices, and that's why you start paying a little bit more. There are Bluetooth devices that will actually, if it starts getting interference, I don't know how it works, it will jump to another place. I don't know if they call them frequencies in Bluetooth, but it'll jump to another channel
Automatically.
that is maybe empty, and it's automatically. And I think there is a little bit of a drop when it's doing that, whereas the other kind of wireless that I'm talking about, you're setting it to a frequency, and the receiver is seeing that frequency, and it's locked.
Just like a radio station.
Yeah, it's locked into place.
Okay.
So
I kind of can relate to that because I know sometimes on certain things they tell you to change the channel from the standard or default channel. I get that. I like that. I feel like I'm smart and I'm learning some stuff to help me out. So I have another question since we just jumped right into the tech, right? So I used a virtual background and I can kind of see like my brother's wall. He's got a very eclectic, colorful house. And so the walls are this pretty blue. And I can see it coming through on that. I don't have one of those green screens. What are some tips for the small business owner, that wants to be going live and doing the thing, and they're, what is the equipment do they need? Should they invest in like a green screen, or what does that look like? What are your thoughts?
So visually speaking, I personally do not like the virtual backgrounds. I have deployed them occasionally. But the technology is pretty good, right? If you and I think they're kind of made that if you stay on the same plane, it does a pretty good job. But if as you rock back and forth, you start sort of piercing
I don't know how to sit still.
Right, the illusion, which is fine. The other thing is, we always opt for like a real background, if you can make it look okay, and so
I got going on.
That looks really good. See, I would have opted for that because that looks amazing, right? It looks bright, it's sunny, it looks cheerful. As long as nobody's walking down the stairs, you're good to go.
Right. So we'll see what happens.
And so, like, if you're really looking for something that's going to have that illusion of something different, and you wanted, first thing you want to do is invest in a small light. Like I have a very small light that sometimes I will put on my desk and just cut that on. And so something like this would be great for you and using for your green screen or your virtual background, just having like that isolated light, because what is happening is the technology is trying to separate like where the background is and where you are.
Where? And so, girl, I got so many questions. I'm sorry.
So lights are good, are great for that sort of thing. So even if you just wanted to like I know that right now you're in a nice bright place. It has some regular sunlight coming in. And so, if you were in a different room that didn't, like I'm in my basement office. And so there's not a whole lot of light. I have lights kind of coming in here. And I've actually got a light back here. So, to give me just a little boost. So and we do have a big light above us, but really lights, if you can just light, especially with people with darker complexions, just having that extra light, not shiny, but just lit, right? Just extra light on the eyes so that you can see what's happening in the eyes. I think that would be enough to help your virtual backgrounds.
You giving me so many nuggets here. With the light, somebody told me with the melanated skin, so brown like me, use the orange light or whatever that color is when it comes with it. So I think there's a white, then there's like a shade.
Right. And so there are some of the newer lights, of course, have what they call different color temperatures, right? Let me see what I've got the
temperatures. Okay.
Total color temperature. So switch. Yes. So they call them temperatures, right? So you've got, sort of the capacity to do brighter or
that's more yellow.
And we can see that the color of the light itself. Let me can sort of change the quality. It's just so I don't always. I go by the color temperature of what is happening, right? So you're in a sunny place, you would want it to be more blue because that's where sunlight falls on the color spectrum.
Got you.
The orangey, more homey, warm lights are more like an incandescent, the old filament light bulb sort of situation. Okay. And so that the idea, you probably that person who gave you that suggestion was thinking, well, you already have this darker complexion, and this is going to make it just warmer in general. Which is they're not wrong, but it might not be the right mix to have daylight and then have this warm light.
Warm light. Okay.
So white light is where I tend to try to be. I know there's like this, where's white? Bluish white or reddish white. So like if you could be in the middle. The other thing is now, there's this thing that happens a lot because of the darker complexions. There's just the light just gets soaked up. It doesn't reflect back, right? You can see with Piper. She's probably, a little more hot over here than, I am. But with the darker complexions, there's this thing about wanting it to be brighter, which you don't want it to be brighter. You just want it to look natural.
Natural, yeah. Agreed.
And so as long as there's enough light that you can see detail, but not hot spots, that's what you're really after.
What's a hot spot?
So, right. What's a hot spot? So, let's see. I'm trying to, like, on your cheek, you've got the sun on the one side. So that's what I call a hot spot. Yep. And so you have the darker side, looks fabulous. And it looks nice and natural. I've got no problems with that sunlight coming in. It's a little hot. I might put what do you call that curtain, that sheer? Might put a sheer up just to dim down how bright it is on you.
Oh, okay. There is a sheer. Shears too.
There is a sheer. Then double it up or try to. Yeah, there's a sheer, right?
He's got them.
All right. So like the sheer all the way across, so that it cuts the intensity of the light, just so that there's not what I call a hot spot, right? So that all the color goes away, and it's it's just like, oh, that's where the light's hitting. It's a hot spot.
So speaking of where the light is hitting, where do you need the light? Do you need the light in front of you? Can the light be behind you? What makes?
And I'm going to say, for women of a certain age, right here.
Is that right?
Not 100%, but so in front, at some point in front, right? So let's just take a look, right? We can do the old,
I wonder too, for the person that wears glasses, that's what I'm always worrying about, because you can see the light in your glasses.
This is a terrible color. It looks green to me here.
And there's also sometimes we'll put, if that's not in the shot, we'll put white paper or a white reflective surface to just bounce a little bit of light underneath.
Right. And it is one of those things where, like, for me, I've got a light up here, and what usually happens is you start introducing it, the more in front the reflection happens. So, we have light speculating, hitting,
right,
and it starts obscuring your eye. So where do you want to place it? Well, if you're on your computer, either, sort of above the camera, just a bit, really what you want to do is just focus some light on your face and your eyes, because people generally want to look into your eyes and feel like they can trust you. They might, get some clues by looking at your lips and trying to read along or, anticipate, but really it's about them eyes. When they look you in the eye, even when you have glasses on, right? It's about seeing your eyes and making that connection that way, that human connection. And so lights, they're a great idea. And I often have this light at like 4%.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be, especially, if it's this close, that's, that is way too bright. And so I will put it further away, maybe bring it up, it depends, you don't have to have it. You never have to have it at 100%, rarely, unless the room has no other light in it.
Okay. And the goal of the light is so that you look natural.
That is always the goal of the light.
Okay. I love this. I love. I hope the audience loves this, because I'm geeking out a little bit over here about this. And now, what about the eyes, right? Because sometimes you can see the camera in your eyes or your glasses. What do you do for that?
Right. So it's like playing billiards, pool, whatever. So what happens is light bounces just like into the lens. So what you're seeing is a bounce of light going straight back at the lens. So if you can move it so the bounce hits away from the lens, then you get rid of that. That is a weird thing to say, but you kind of have to experiment with how off axis you need to move the light.
I see.
See, so it is like playing pool, because if you hit the cue ball too far to one side, it bounces that way. If you hit it in the center, it goes straight, right? And if you hit it to the just to the other side, it goes in a completely different directions. And light is really no different. It hits a surface and bounces at an angle. If you just change the angle slightly so it doesn't hit the lens, that's how you get rid of the reflection of the light.
I love that.
So
And it's, is that how the white paper helps too? If you're doing that?
the white paper is just really just a matter of like getting bounce. Yes, exactly. The light hits that and then bounces up underneath or up in the face.
This is so cool. Thank you all for sharing. Wow. So I had a lot of techie questions. Let's get into some other things going on. So wow. So what I'm wondering, let me go with that.
All right.
I'm going to switch gears just a tad. So I'm known as the disruptor coach, and I'm curious, what have you all had to disrupt in your own lives?
Lives or at work?
Both. We want all
Yeah.
the tea. It's a conversation.
At work, I think it happens a lot at work. I don't want to. Sometimes I'm in a situation where there is no person of color on set except for the person in front of the camera. And a light just went out. And and the lighting may not. I will go to the director or the producer and I'll be like, this is not very complimentary to this person. Because they will light in such a way for what they're a lighter complexion, and it bothers me. And I don't usually, I'm there for sound usually.
Right.
So for me to go to somebody, it's like I have to, I'm trying not to make it, I don't want to, weird. I don't want to disrupt the whole set, but I do want to disrupt their thinking of, hey, I'm noticing this and it's really not cool.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's also, usually we're on set with mostly males. And I'm amazed at how many times I'll get asked on set, they're making a joke and they're like, hey, do you think this is inappropriate? And Monique's thing usually is, if you're asking me the question before you say it, it probably is. So I know there's so many things.
Oh, there are so many things. Like, yeah, that is one of the things. And I hear this, and I'm always amazed because I get to control who I work with, how I work, who I bring on to work, who I give opportunities to advance their careers. And I hear people say, oh my gosh,
yeah,
it's an all-female crew.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I'm like, oh yeah, that's unusual, but not for us.
Right. Yeah.
That is not for us. Or, yeah, I mean, that's the big one, right? So,
yeah.
One of the things too that we do disrupt is there's a lot of, folks come to me, clients come to me, or colleagues come to me and say, hey, we're going to do this version in Spanish. And I ask immediately if there's a call to action, like go to this website, call this phone number. I said, when you call the phone number, is somebody going to answer or speak or be able to communicate in Spanish? If they say no, I tell them it's a bad idea. Don't do it. I talk them out of work. Right.
Yeah.
But ultimately what happens is it becomes an afterthought. And
right.
And when you call the number and you're hoping to get information and it's just not there, what have you really done other than spend money? Yeah. So we do a bit of that. We really have to counsel folks that when they're doing these extra projects. Like, oh, we have a little bit of money. We could do it in Spanish. It's like, sometimes it's not just putting, text on screen in Spanish or a voiceover.
Yeah.
So
You
we
need
have
to
a
work.
lot of education that we do about that.
I love that. I love that you're changing the space. And what have you seen? So what have you seen in your 20 years now, which is amazing
Thank
in
you.
being in business for 20 years. Congratulations again on that.
Thank you.
What have you seen that has changed the most that kind of warms your heart maybe, or how much more work is there to do?
Well, the biggest thing is the internet really equalized how people get to be putting their own message out, right? It used to be
Yeah.
just radio and TV, very expensive films, right? That used to be then, the internet comes around and then people get their own channels, get their own podcasts, their own talk show, their own, films, their own skits, their own, narratives. And
Yeah.
that has just been so amazing. In our journey, in our evolution, we started, with tape, CDs, and I had to talk a lot of my clients eventually out of the DVDs to just be online, right? So we've seen quite an evolution in what people can do. And it has just been amazing, especially for coaches, right? We have the capacity to go out and make these videos and advertise what we're doing, and that are voices out there, that we are different. We are LGBTQ company. We're
Yeah.
women-owned company, a
Mhm.
minority-owned company. And so it was radical when we were out there as a company to women, one Latino and lesbian. We were radical out there, but now it's like, okay, everybody has like their little niche, their little channel, and that's possible out there. And for us, we really want to help those voices that are timid or shy or feel like that they didn't have a space, or technically can't get it all together,
Yeah.
and just have a passion about that message, that we help them. This is what we do.
Yeah, I think that people are, I think, feeling less intimidated, and that their message is just as important as somebody else's message. And that watching people's confidence, and yeah, that's been really, and that people are get quickly pretty savvy too. And
All right, this particular, I am so impressed, Selina, with this, the consistency, being out here every Sunday, putting it together, and making it happen. That has just been a joy for me to watch.
yeah, she
Oh,
talks about it all the time.
thank you so much. I wanted to be of service, and I wasn't quite comfortable being in front of the camera yet with my ideal client and the messages, because one, I know that it's it's a conversation that they don't necessarily want to have out in the open, right? They need a safe space. So this was a way for me to utilize my strengths and still be of service, to serve others, to help serve my coaching friends, right? For us to get our messaging out. And so it was kind of twofold. And I'm just appreciative to find StreamYard, because
Yeah.
I actually had a podcast for I think almost 2 years, where I was just going live on Facebook and Instagram. So if you go way back in the archives, you'll see that too. And I was just rambling. I don't even know who I was talking to. But
But it served you, because I see you doing these conversations, and it feels really natural. And I feel like, oh, I want to hear what she's going to ask.
And that's the nice thing too, that I think has changed since we first started, is the authenticity now of seeing folks in front of the camera. To me, that's changed dramatically. And I couldn't, when I first started seeing it, I couldn't put my finger on it. And I was like, oh, this makes me feel good. Why does this make me feel good? And then I realized it's people are getting more authentic and
Yeah.
they're not trying to be somebody they're not.
Right. Absolutely. And I really can't, y'all saw me earlier. I wanted to show up in my plaits. I'm like, hey, because sometimes that's the way they're watching anyway. Somebody else is sitting watching in their plaits. So it does it I do think it the more that you do it, it allows you to kind of get comfortable and release all of the things that really don't matter, because you do have
Right.
important things to say. I am loving this dynamic because Piper, are you sure you're an introvert?
Yeah.
She's getting comfortable with
I'm
you.
getting comfortable. Yeah.
She's getting comfortable with you.
I love this though. Well, thank you so much. I just want to acknowledge that I appreciate you being here. I felt so excited when she told me that you said yes. I was like, because I feel like you two are like a dynamic duo. I met you first at our intensive in Atlanta, and it was just something about you to me. And maybe it's your intuitiveness and everything, because I'm kind of like I used to be that kind of behind the scenes person, and I could see, and I love people. So I watch people. I'm concerned about people. I'm probably more interested than the average person. So I see people. And I wanted to hear what you had to say. So I appreciate it very, very much.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have you around because you are, like, we call Piper in the office the ethics officer, to make sure everything's fair and that it's equitable and that we are really giving the client, we're not shorting the client. So we
Absolutely.
call her the ethics officer.
Absolutely. And it would be hard to talk about Velasquez media and not have Piper, right?
Yep, that's very true. That's very true.
Absolutely. And so I wanted to honor that as well. So, folks listening, this you ladies are such an awesome team. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit because I feel myself just getting emotional. I don't know about you.
Oh,
Um, you recently, Monique, so we're in the same coaching circles. We were literally in the same coaching circle within our certification program, Circle 6, where we were, and it was what was her name?
right.
Lord. Was that who we were embodying?
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Yes. I can't even remember.
I
Right.
feel like it
That sounds right.
her. And
That sounds right.
um you recently announced that you also got nominated. You got a board nomination, right? Would you care to share that with us?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I do quite a bit of looking for places to sit on boards and be a service to my community. Sat on a couple of different citizens boards, Equal Opportunity for Business, Cable Advisory Board, and this was a little bit different because it's the local gay and lesbian chamber of commerce. It's called Harmony, and I found them through a friend. I've known of them, and recently I was like, okay, I'm done being idle. I also sit on a nonprofit board, and it's like I'm done being idle. I'm only got one board, right? So, so I was looking for another board, and I found Harmony. I think with the coaching certification and with the video business, it felt like the right place to be at the time. And I like the idea of helping other business owners just connect and just, uplift them. And so I think that the Harmony uh, organization is the right place for me. And I ran for the board, and they said it was an election. It was, everybody got to vote somehow. I feel like, we didn't go someplace and vote, but they asked people to send in their votes, and they let us know last week that I was voted on the board as a board member. I thought about running for holding office, but I thought I'd see how the organization ran before I really stepped up into something different. So,
Congratulations.
thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you.
I love it.
You know, I'm so excited about being able to again connect with this community over business and really sort of help them grow and become more visible.
Yeah. Absolute visibility. Woo. You got to do that in the business, right?
That's right. That's
That's
exactly
what
right. Yeah.
that's part of my framework in helping my business clients also. I'm in the growth scale 1 to 3 range, right?
Mhm.
I want to really help them build that solid foundation, build their confidence, get visible, understand their mission and their vision, and then launch their offer, create their offer, and that sort of thing. And that's where the visibility tier is for me, right?
Right. Right. I mean that's all about, you know, really getting out there and really putting yourself out there and having that courage to be seen in a new way. And so for us, we are really looking at like the 3, 4, 5 folks that are like past their idea of I am visible, I am growing my audience, I am ready for monetizing either like a book or a challenge
Hmm.
or a course. And so this is where we excel by being able to live stream sort of a, a better version than just a desktop Zoom
Right.
situation. We've we help folks get through the tech um, and not worry about whether the tech is right
Love that. I
and
love
get to the part where they're serving a bigger audience or an audience that is no longer local, that they have exceeded their city, that they are down the road, they're down to the next county, the next city, the next state, the next country, right?
So do you go on the road then? Like if that is happening, or are they? What does that look like in practicality? If so, you know what comes to my mind? I'm thinking about Rachel. She's doing these book tours and things like that. How would that equate to how you might help the small business owner? Or is that a fair question to ask?
No, it's total fair question to ask. And so one of the things that I may have mentioned along the way is that the way we came to Rachel and Hello Seven was we were hired by another company to go to the next town over and do a live stream. And when we got there, we found out it was for a book launch, and that book was We Should All Be Millionaires.
Oh wow. Wow.
And so, you know, I had been investing in like, you know, self improvement and business, you know, capacity, and it was, you know, a bunch of white guys, and so, you know, it wasn't really speaking to me. It was still helping the business, but it wasn't like, you know, making me want to like be all in.
Right.
And having sat through that, and Piper was there, and she helped, you know, sort of do the sleuthing. Where are we going? Who are we talking to? It's like, what? Look at this. She's got a membership, and it's like, oh, okay, interesting. And then she was talking about her book, and we bought the book, and I made her read it, and then, you know, we come circle around and got out of the club. So the thing that we can help with is we did that book launch for the membership, and so that wasn't out to the world. It was actually just to the
Oh,
folks that were
in the
already there in the
oh
club.
wow.
So, I mean, we went to the next town over. Now, ideally, you may have seen the trade and travel challenge that Terry Iojima, Rachel, it was like in April, had mentioned. Oh, this is a challenge. You really should be, you know, learning how to trade, do
Yeah,
trades with
I
stocks.
did watch a snippet of that, but I couldn't add one more thing to my to-do list.
Right. And I get that. And so, like, that model is really what we're looking at. So, Terry had the trade and travel challenge. It was 3 days. And she went to a studio and she brought in her guests in front of the camera in a studio
Right.
and talked it was thousands
Yeah.
of people that were part of this challenge in different places, different countries, different states,
Yeah.
and so that's the model that we are looking at being able to help folks with, so that if you have this challenge and you have the capacity to fill 1,000 or better, absolutely, you're not looking at necessarily just doing it on Zoom. You're looking at bringing in other speakers and maybe even being in the same space together, giving that energy to the camera.
I love that.
A hybrid.
One of my
So it's considered hybrid. And one of the things that, Ariel, we brought Ariel Morton in, who is our coach, our coach, right, to Durham, and we converted her to a Durham fan. Durham, North Carolina is like this interesting jewel of a place, right? We are up and coming on lots of like best of lists. We have the mountains not too far away, and the beach not too far away, and we have a pretty rich, minority culture here. We have African American majority in this town, I believe, and the Hispanic community is just growing and growing in North Carolina, which is weird, but
And we're
true.
a little proud of Durham.
And we like living here. It's a very interesting, very liberal city.
Okay. I wouldn't have thought that.
I know, right? North Carolina is what they consider a purple state. The county is really conservative. County areas, the rural portions, but the university centers, which are the big major metropolises, are pretty liberal.
I love that. I love that. This makes me want to know now. So, did you all grow up there, or how did you all meet?
I did not. My father was in the Air Force, and so we moved around quite a bit.
So I was born in North Carolina. I was born in Winston-Salem, which is a little bit west of here. But I grew up a lot in North Carolina in different towns, but then we moved to the Washington, D.C. area, and I stayed there for a while for the beginning of college because I'd been there in high school, and then moved back. And then let's see. We met when we lived in Raleigh.
Yeah, I went to NC State for college.
And I went to NC State,
and
but we didn't meet there.
We stuck around Raleigh, and then we met through a mutual friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Love it. And it sounds like the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is,
public knowledge. Everybody knows.
I love it. I love it. So let me look at I haven't really looked at my list of questions. I'm not sure if I can mark on anything other than, how do you show up in the world, and what did you have to disrupt in your life and business? Let's see. Let's start. Well, I started with a personal question just now, so let's keep in that vein. You mentioned working in a male-dominated field, and it's probably been interesting. What have been some of the biggest challenges you face, and how do you overcome them? That was a question, and we might have touched on it a little bit, and if we have, that's fine too.
Huh.
There's a lot of assumptions. Well, I felt like there was a lot of assumptions when I first got into the field, because I was a musician, so I knew sound from that perspective, and I will overlearn something in a heartbeat.
Imposter syndrome. Right?
Yeah, I go way past, but I will never. I was finding myself on set a lot with folks questioning what I was doing and saying, well, I'll just say Sam did this and Bob did this, and I felt like there was an automatic assumption of, oh, you need help. And I would look around and I'm like, you're not helping anybody with lights. You're not helping anybody with the camera.
The boy over there.
You're not helping the 19-year-old who is on set as an intern, but you feel like you can give me all the criticisms in the world. And it was interesting when they would give me a larger crew because I was doing a lot of stuff by myself as a sound person, and they might give me a boom operator because there were more actors, and that's the person to hold the shotgun mic closer to the actors.
Mm-hmm.
And I would end up telling the boom operator, who usually had experience, they were always surprised at things that, like, I'm like, oh no, we're going to put a lavalier, we're going to hide a lavalier this way, and we're going to treat the woman this way when we go back to put the lavalier. And they were always like, I usually got guys telling me, no one's really talked to me about this. I didn't think about it. I guess I was being kind of rude. And so that gave me more confidence. I was like, I am approaching it in a different way. And I have had actresses tell me that when they saw me on set, they were like, oh my God, it was so nice to see that a woman in the sound department, that they didn't feel as defensive, and that they needed to be, because I can only imagine you're acting a part, but then you have to put up a wall when you're dealing with people. And just being a woman on set, I think it made a big difference.
Right. You hear actresses say all the time, I can't remember being on a set where there was female crew. It may be the makeup artist.
Right.
Yeah, the makeup artist. Yeah, that's usually, hair and makeup.
I love this, Piper. You are like you're a rebel and like a trailblazer here.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I mean, when we started out, I was like, and it also helps, I think, coming from a music background, I did approach sound a little bit differently, and people were saying that what they needed, and I was like, well, I think it gave me the ability to not necessarily think the same way that other people were, and I with Monique's help, I was able to come up with some different ideas for approaching some, what do you call it, problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
And Monique, well, I'll let you talk about.
Tell me, what are you going to say?
Well, I think Monique just shows up, and it's like,
deal with it.
Deal with it.
There are some guys that really do not like to see me on set.
I don't think one person that I think feels that way actually pulled me aside at the party and said, it was always nice when you would show up on set, and then Monique, because sometimes we would show up as a package. It's like,
you get 2 for 1.
You get, even though you're just paying for me, it's like I would ask for help from Monique and vice versa. And he was like, I may not have agreed with it at the time, and I may have been defensive, but I was always really glad to get Monique's take on things on set.
All right.
He pulled me aside to tell me that.
Well, yeah, I have confidence in what I know.
Right.
And I'm not beyond the idea that, I did over prepare. I went and got an advanced degree in this. And even though I know that I'm making less than somebody I know that has just a high school diploma doing the same thing, that's something that, you just have to deal with. It's there. One of the things that I had to deal with early on was this idea of being the token, right?
Yes.
So as this happens to both of us, we get invited to sets to be part of crew because I'm brown and we're women.
Now it's become a thing. I know that I was getting invited on set because I was a woman.
And that's great that, that at least they're
points.
Thinking about that. They're getting points with their clients, and they're thinking of us, and we're grateful for the work, and we know that that's making a difference.
Right.
And now it's just recent that I think I get pulled on set also to be from the LGBTQ community, which that's fairly recent.
Right.
So,
yeah. And so, it's been really nice to be able to pick who we work with and why we work with them. So that's been the nice thing.
I love that for you. And sometimes you got to be the first to kick the door open.
Yeah, we're okay with that. First not a problem.
Yes.
And if I get rejected for that, I get rejected for
Right.
that. That's
Oh my goodness, this is so wonderful. So, Piper, you mentioned a couple of times, and Monique said it early on, that you were a musician. Are you still a musician? And what type of musician are you?
I'm not really playing anymore. I got rheumatoid arthritis, and I played guitar, and it made it. I wasn't even able to walk for a while there. But yeah, we toured my youth. I toured. We got to tour around the country, and I got to see a lot of things that I'm really glad. I made friends across the country, and then our big blowout was we went to New Zealand and toured New Zealand, and Monique went with us.
Your singing partner
and my singing partner and her partner also went with us, and that was really cool. But I was a folk. We called ourselves folk rock because it always confused people when we just said folk. They expected us to sing very traditional stuff, and we sang original stuff. But and Monique played with us every once in a while when we'd have a bigger band.
Percussion. Yeah.
She played percussion.
It was just for fun.
What?
Yeah.
You
Just for fun.
talented, both of you. Oh my gosh.
It was for the big bucks, is what it was for.
Yeah, all the coffee you could drink.
I love this. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What
So
other?
a big claim to fame. I got to open for Joan Armatrading, and I made a total fool out of myself.
Well, you don't have to put that part in the story.
But anyway, yes, I got to open for Joan Armatrading.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
now you know people are going to want to know that part, because is that really true?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, there's lots of things. You know, we've had a couple of careers. It feels like, yeah. And this one, being in business for 20 years, is kind of hard to believe that we've been at it that long, and that we also had these other things that we did.
Yeah, we forget all the time. Oh yeah, I did do that.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Watching you both speak in unison. All right, so let's keep. So since you said that, yeah, we did that. My next question is, what is something that people would be surprised to know about you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things. Like I know I played collegiate soccer, Division I, and top 5 in the nation on a team that's top 5 in the nation. So that is not something people look at me and think, right? And I was a walk-on. I did not get recruited like a lot of my teammates, and so I had the courage to do it. And before I got on that particular squad, I tell the story that I played on a high school soccer team that regularly got thumped. 10 to nothing, 10-1 maybe. Yeah, we got thumped all the time, and we were the laughing stock, and it was just, it was a character building thing. And then, before that, and then afterward, I'd gone into the service, into a military prep school, go to the Coast Guard Academy, and while I was there, I got a notion to try out for the team, and it was a men's team. I don't know what I was thinking, but I tried out, and they actually kept me on the squad. So I was on the men's squad at the prep school for a year before I was a walk-on over at NC State.
Oh, wow.
That was a lot of courage on my part, because really 10-0 in high school, it was like, what was I going to, who am I? Which was really great, like courage over confidence, right? Yes. So who am I to go and play with the guys, right? And then make the team.
And made the team.
So made the team.
Probably another first, right?
Yes, that was a first. I don't know that anybody else has done that.
That is hecka cool. How about you, Piper? Anything interesting that anyone might be surprised to know?
I have a forklift license.
Making her.
Is that part of the folk rock because you have a.
No, that was no. I worked in a couple of different warehouses,
Oh,
but I don't know what people be. I mean, people are usually surprised to find out I was a musician
Yeah.
and that I toured.
that's pretty cool.
That's
I'm definitely
probably.
gonna go look you up. You know that.
So what happened was, uh, my friend Ruth and I, we just started getting together because we both played guitar.
Yeah.
And then it was a fluke. The person across the street worked at a music store, and she knew a guy in a band, and they needed a band to open for them. And she was like, okay, so now you need to play in public and you need to come up with a name of a band. And we were like, what? And so we came up really quick with the name Kid Sister because we both had been called Kid Sister because we were the babies in our family. But we did that, and that guy ended up becoming he was in a rock band, and he is now a folk singer, him and his wife, and they're pretty big. He married she's Guthrie, she's Arlo Guthrie's daughter.
Wow.
And so I guess that's a claim to fame, maybe. But and he was all like, "Yeah, you're opening for us," and we're like, "Okay."
Okay. I love this. Oh my gosh. This is such an interesting conversation. Oh my gosh. So,
So, Selena, what do people are they surprised to find out about you?
what are they surprised to find out about me? That's a good one. Surprised to find out about me. I was married at 16, my first marriage.
Wow, that is young.
Yeah, a lot of people's like, what? You were what?
Yeah, you had ideas.
Hey girl, I was trying to get out of my grandparents' house. My grandmother was really strict. My mother had sent me to live with my grandparents to kind of keep an eye on me.
Right.
Um, yeah, and so the boy asked, and I was like, yeah. The incredible thing is that my mother allowed me to do it because she had to sign for me to get married. She gave me two ultimatums. You can't get pregnant and you got to finish school. I was a straight A student, so it wasn't like I wasn't going to finish, but
Right.
I didn't get pregnant. I did sign myself out when I turned 18. I didn't finish. I waited till my class graduated and I went and took the GED test because I was ready to go. I was done. I was grown.
You had ideas. You had a plan. You're on it.
Yeah.
Good
I
for
was
you.
ready to go. So that would probably be the most interesting. Thank you for that question. All right. So one that I'd like to ask before we get away, because we have been on for a bit. This has just been a fun conversation. It doesn't even feel like we've been on that long. Can you share a favorite book, podcast, or resource that has significantly impacted your life?
I'm meant to prepare for that.
So, you know, I love the idea that, the Radical Candor book, it took me a long time to get through it, but
Can't
there were so
stop.
many things in there about creating culture and how to talk to, folks that are, that report to you.
Mhm.
That the story of like being timid and not giving feedback that was constructive or useful to one of, I think the author had said they didn't give it to the person and people were complaining about somebody, and then the next time she really talked to him she had to fire him.
Mhm.
And he just said, why didn't they tell me? That struck a lot. It hit me because I'm thinking, oh, right. I mean, you are what's it's part of that quadrant where it's like, you're you're just too nice and you're not helping anybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I've been in that
that's
space.
yeah. I mean, and I think for women that's a big danger. It's like we end up trying to be nice and not cause waves or seem like a jerk or act like so much or whatever it is, and we end up not helping the situation by not giving an honest, a candid reflection and critique of what's happening. and
Absolutely.
we accept subpar or less than work from our subordinates or from ourselves sometimes, or somebody who's giving work for us, a vendor, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a muscle definitely that has to be practiced
Mm-hmm.
to get to walk that dynamic of it, right? Because
Right.
it's, candor can sometimes feel like being unkind. And I think as women, we want to be seen, in a good, the good girl kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, syndrome. I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have been enjoying lately the Billion Dollar Creator podcast with Nathan
Really?
Barry, and that's been an interesting one. The ones about flywheels, and then just listening to a lot of different entrepreneurs talk about how attention and what they have as a plan to get not just to $1 million, but to $1 billion, which has been interesting. This last one made me think a little harder about how I'm showing up inconsistently. So that's been helpful to me.
Yeah.
I love that. How about you, Piper?
So I haven't finished it, but I bought the book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin.
Mm.
And I find myself reading. I mean, it's written in such a way that you don't have to consume a whole lot,
Mhm.
but it's so thick in thought in
Mm.
that I'll read a section and then I'm like, okay, I got to read that again. It's very the creative mind and all that aspects in a different way. It's everybody's going to get something different out of it. I need Yeah, I haven't gotten very far in it because I keep going back and rereading stuff. I'm like, wait a minute. It's just really, there's a lot there.
I love it.
Um, and then it's always like a documentary that we've just watched that I can't get out of my head. There's always the latest documentary I just watched. I know the Polly Murray documentary stayed with me for a long time, and that's somebody who was here in
Durham.
this area in Durham, and I always knew a lot about Polly Murray, but to see the documentary about what she did, and also taking into the aspect that was the 1930s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. But one we watched just recently has now that one's going over and over, and is it the Queer Comics or something like that? And it was really interesting.
Something like
It's on Netflix and it just came out, but it's just the history and what people went through, and that you can judge them from where you stand now, but
at the time it was
at
very
the
different.
time, and having gone through that time and going, wow, they were really very brave, and they
Mm.
did put a path for people that
And they didn't get to realize themselves, but
Right.
there are comics today that are really reaping the benefit for having them gone through the whatever, the shaming,
right.
or the
Yeah.
And the Polly Murray, that people don't even know how much Polly Murray probably affected their life today. It's like, people like that, things like that stay with me, but those are
the two current ones.
the two current ones. Yeah.
These are really good. Anything else come to mind?
Not right now.
Not right now.
This is really, really, really good.
Disruptor. But,
There's the disruptor coach there.
Well, that's a nice segue then. So my question before I ask the final question is, where can people find you? How can they get in touch? What else do you want them to know?
Let's see. Well, we have a website, velasquezmedia.com, which you see, velasquezmedia.com. We are on Instagram for fun. We're on Facebook more regularly, and on LinkedIn, which I kind of prefer to sort of be in that space as a business.
Mm-hmm.
And we're often on our podcast.
We do have podcasts that we have not showed up consistently.
Not consistently. because
What?
we were like, what's the thing that's a little bit different about us, and that's being a couple in business together. And so
Mhm.
we found a few folks, and we did
Married entrepreneurs,
married entrepreneurs.
LGBTQ.
I love
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, we had a couple of great conversations. We met some really great, fantastic people in our
Oh,
area
yeah.
that I love them all.
I know. Yeah,
I love
And
this.
I just cold called them and said, "Hey, you want to do this?" And I met some amazing entrepreneurs around here,
and I need to get back on
and
that.
they came to my 20th to our
Yeah, they
20th
came to our
party, and that was like such a joy
Yeah.
to see them. And
Yep.
they're fun people, and I love them.
I love
Indulge
it
catering
too.
and
And
beer too.
so, what are we doing with the podcast? Like, is it coming back? Like, what's happening here?
Piper is supposed to be getting her butt back in gear and start redoing, and we'll start doing more of those.
Yeah, where am I?
Consistency.
Where are we in the business? It's like we're just like is consistency. A lot of things that we're doing should be, the kicking off and being consistent early on, because we don't have real formal marketing, and so that would be
Okay.
one of those things that we should be more consistent about.
Well, I did hear you say you hired a marketing coach, so you're going to get there.
That's right, Ariel Morton. I am Ariel.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Well, so we will put all of the links in the caption on this live for everyone that they talked about the various books. This is so doggone good. I got like 2 pages of notes here. I always go away with wonderful nuggets. So before we get out of here, I do like to ask, and you did ask me a question, but do you have any other questions for me?
Yeah, I mean, I see this amazing podcast, and
That's where I was. Yeah.
I would love to see, this continue. How do you see this going forward? How, continuing on?
I hadn't gotten that far. I've got a lot of coaching buddies, so I feel like it could go on for a long time. I have really been considering, like I said, I did a podcast a couple of years ago for about 2 years. I wanted to, because I've only done it like on social media. So I do want to get it out on the broader platforms, so Spotify, Apple, and all of that. So I at least would like to take what I already have and get it out there. That part I know, but beyond that, I haven't considered it. I'm starting to work on my business plan for disruptor coaching, and so I'm sure it will shape out. And if you have any suggestions for me, I'm open to
Well,
that.
I just say that I love seeing this out there, and I think that your consistency,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to shape what how you are feeling when you're not there, right? Because it's out there without you, which is the best part of
Right.
media, right? It lives 24/7 when you're sleeping and you're helping people. So that is just an amazing thing. So hopefully this is going to be part of your flywheel to get you going,
All
and
right,
seeing that coaching going on.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. It's impressive that you're so consistent, and
Yeah.
yeah.
This is the one thing that I knew I could do to show up. My commitment once a week on Sundays is being here. And like I said, I love people. I'm interested in people. So to be able to do that and serve in this way. This is when we first got started after the certification. It's like, so how can I show up? This like speaks to my strengths and what I love doing, having conversations and connecting with just people in their as their most authentic selves. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming to the conversation and accepting the invite. And hopefully we can do this again real soon.
And I know we were double because there's two of us chatting. So we really appreciate the time to come in here and talk to you and be part of, your community. And now we're going to have more community seeing you on our side. So I'm really happy about that too. So thank you.
Thank you. Any final words before we get out of here?
Yeah. Be yourself,
There you
right?
go.
Be
Wow.
yourself.
Love that. I love that. And mine is it's taken shape is be good to yourself. Be
Nice.
good to yourself. Well, that's our time. We thank you so much. Until next time, I've got another guest already lined up next week, so you'll see
Yay.
that. So look for that information to come out. I think it comes out on Tuesday. So thank you,
Cool.
ladies, for being here. That's our time, y'all. Until next time,
All
we
right.
are signing off.
Bye
Yes.
bye.